Hello, everybody. Happy day before the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March, if for those of you Shakespearean theologists. I am full Irish gear. Alan found out that I'm at least 50% Irish. My mom is O'Neill, big Irish Catholic family, Irish farm, the whole, I was going to say meat and potatoes, but it's more just potatoes when you think about the Irish. Um, so happy Tuesday. It's interesting. I think we were a little better than we were Monday and over the weekend, but then we had that drone incident. Um, but I'm not going to get into that. Maybe you want to pile into defense, which is RTX, and GD for General Dynamics. But I'm focusing on the banks. And eventually I'll transfer into the economy in general. Um, but I so eh, so here's the thing, and some of you know that I'm a programmer. Um, but what my job is to do, and I work for a company called FIS, which is a financial processor, sort of like a Fiserv. So what we do is we house banks on our system. Their terminals log into our system, and that's how they function. Um, so one of the banks, FR, um, I keep calling it FRB because that's what we call it, but its ticker symbol is FRC. Um, I converted them last August, I think, onto our system. So I'm a little bit familiar with that bank. And I was texting people yesterday morning um, to buy this bank at under $30. That was my text to one or more people. Um, if you look at FRB's chart, and let me see if I can bring it up. So, and let's see if we can get chart plus. Um, so, so this is KRE, and Dennis Prost was a big ETF guy. But if you look at FRB, which is FRC, um, and so this was a $125 stock, dropped down. And like I said, buy it if you can get it below 30. And yesterday was kind of interesting because I was watching it during the day. It actually dropped down to 18 or sub $18. The hard part, and I think most of the banks, was it kept getting halted. And that's to be expected when, there's such a panic. And like I said, I told people buy this under 30 because it's an overreaction, only because of SVB, which Silicon Valley Bank. And if you want, I can get into what the issues with Silicon Valley Bank were. Um, Long story short is they had short-term deposits with longer-term um, loans, and the clientele that they catered to are these, for lack of a better description, 20 somethings, instant on, always access, severely rate sensitive. And when there's a trigger, it's instantaneous that they know that that something's up. The trigger happened to be SVB asking for more money because they couldn't um, support their deposits, and that's what caused the run. And like I said, because of who their clientele were, those depositors, that's what made it so aggressive. And so I think this is like the first time in history that a bank has ever been closed during the day, um, like on a Friday. Usually they'll wait till Friday at close and then the FDIC comes in. Um, and my company used to do those as well. We have FDIC acquisitions where they just suck up all the deposits. But like I said, if you can get if you could get FRB below 30, you were golden because it traded up to 50, and that was sort of my personal to myself target, because at 60, that's a double. And if you can get a double on a stock, so we'll see what it does the following days. I think people continue to calm down, and I think this rallies back upwards. Like I said, and I saw a post from one of the Nigerians talking about KRE, which is the regional bank ETF. And I believe, so they traded up and then sold off today as well. But they closed above what they closed yesterday. So it's a green day for them as well. People are people, I don't know if understandably is the right word. But people are panicked, and when there's blood in the streets, that's usually the time for opportunities. I can remember, it's funny because if there are certain things, there are certain things that you know exactly where you were or what you were doing when that event happened. 9/11 is a perfect example. I can tell you exactly what I was doing. I was going to Walmart. I was sitting in Walmart's parking lot when Brexit first came to light. And I was sitting there watching the futures tank and tank and tank and tank. Um, and I heard a story about, maybe it was Peter Thiel or someone left the conference to go buy, stock or buy things, because he knew that this is a overreaction to an event that will work itself out. And I believe this whole bank thing will work itself out. I I agree with what the Fed and the FDIC did. Basically, they said we are going to honor all deposits, not just the $250,000 level. Because you got to remember, there are businesses that bank with that. I got another text from someone saying, well, we bank with Zion, or my company banks with Zion, and they've frozen all of our assets, which is not a good thing. I also agree that they're not bailing out the bank itself, or not bailing out the shareholders, not bailing out the um, executives that hold stock, because they knew the risk. And I think that was a good decision for them. Because what it does, and I don't know if you guys know this, in college, I did a paper on two things. I did a paper on I don't know if it was the National Banking Act of 1933, which basically established the FDIC and said, we need to bring confidence back into the banks, because without confidence, what happened Monday is what you get. People kind of lost confidence in the banks. I also did a paper on, and I don't know what year it was, the Glass-Steagall Act, which I'm guessing most of you don't know. But basically, it separated banks from their trading desks. If you had to keep your bank deposits separate from your trading deposits. So that's a little history lesson on this banking act that Roosevelt enacted, basically following the Great Depression, to get confidence back in the banks. And I think that's what we needed yesterday and today. People just need to calm down. You don't need to go to your bank and withdraw your funds. You know, eh, Had they not, I think we would have been in a much worse position. Um, I don't know, Alan, your thoughts on all of this? Your thoughts on playing, or what you played?
Well, well, it's interesting because I was over at the bank stocks, and I saw the pattern come up, and one of the ones I found real nice to play was Bank of America. They seem to get pretty slammed. My favorite bank stocks are J.P. Morgan, State Street, STT,
Hmm.
Fifth Third Bank, FITB, Huntington, HBAN. A lot of people like Region Financial. They're a good bank. PNC. So the issue is that a bank is almost required to take their extra money and invest it. So I don't see anything they did wrong because they put all their investments, the majority of it, $10 billion, I think I read, into 10-year treasuries, which is the safest thing you could ever do. But they bought them and they were getting like 1%. And then when they went to sell them, nobody would buy them. So they took almost a $2 billion loss. So that's what really hurt that. And that's what made the crisis occur is that they had to run. They were forced to sell their 10-year treasuries. They probably got hit with penalties on that. And then on top of that, they went ahead and took a huge loss because nobody wanted to buy it at 1% when you can get, 3 to 5% now on a note. So they took a haircut on that. The ironic thing is it was all done by people. People spread rumors. You got to get your money out of there. The bank's gonna fail. And if there wasn't an obviously, nothing would have happened. So that's all
Right.
there is to that.
Right.
Um,
Exactly.
do I see them coming back? Yes. The problem is that we still have this situation. And if we have a real estate crisis, the banks are going to go ahead and be in the same boat as we are right now. They can't, people don't pay their mortgages. We're going to be in the same boat. This is what happened during COVID. So you got to keep your foot on the gas and watch what's happening. I was very amazed today that every bank stock that I followed, I mean, you had a couple of them that didn't follow the pattern, that opened up 10, 15, 20%, they ended up finishing the day down for the day.
Right. Yeah. People
There was
taking
quite a few of
profit.
those that did that.
Yeah. People taking profit.
Yeah, they took the,
You
yeah,
know, and
and
I
that
just,
does happen.
yeah. Speaking of SVB, I ran across a Bloomberg article saying, in late 2020, the firm's asset liability committee received an internal recommendation to buy shorter term bonds as more deposits flowed in to reduce its duration risk, but that would have reduced earnings. So executives balked. So um so yeah, and I think like you mentioned it, rumors fly around the world before the truth, puts its boots on. These type of people, and I may be one of them, are glued to information. In years past, you'd watch the nightly news and, oh, this bank over here is having troubles, kind of thing. Um, it's not the same environment as it was. So I, like I said, if I had to choose, I'd be bullish, somewhat bullish on the banks. Um, I think, you know, we had an overreaction. We had somewhat of an overreaction to the upside. People took profit. Um, and as things settle down, and as the Fed and the FDIC reassure people that this is a singular event, um, I think that confidence will come back. I think because if look at these Huntington, $15 down to 11. I mean, we're talking 40, 50, 60%, which is, yeah, I saw that number for FRB and I said, yeah, it just doesn't jive with
They
me.
say they said that they had those same numbers during the recession of 2008. So,
Well, and that's
the
another
number,
thing.
if you do a 10 or 15 year thing, you'll see that
Yeah, and that's another thing is I'm somewhat nervous about this economy. I'm somewhat nervous about 5, 6 months down the road, what we're going to look at. You know, are we in a recession? Is it gonna move to a depression? Um, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Um, so,
it's the first man-made recession that we've had. And
hmm,
it's been totally, made up that was totally controllable. If we didn't raise the interest rates, we wouldn't be where we're at. If we didn't go ahead and have oil and gas prices be out of control, there's just so many factors here. And
well,
then who's to say with the billions of dollars we got going over cities?
yeah. Well, and I think it's a decision that compounds, and then one thing follows another, and you're kind of on this path of, well, that's what we're ending up, kind of thing. Um, so
Well, I don't see a recession right now. I do see that we're in a little bit of a slowdown. They try to slow the inflation down. It's worked. So I think that's what's going on. But when you have that, I was hearing a lot of professionals say, even this whole crisis with the banks, if they didn't buy the 10-year treasuries, this would have never happened. You know, you know, no, I mean, I almost bought them. Know,
Hmm. Yeah, it'll yeah, keep plugging away.
I mean, but I'm like 5.4% all day long now. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, you got a lot of words of wisdom. I like how all the stuff that you talked about. Um, so right now, in terms of other than the banks, Google's the only thing I see that's got some movement to the upside. I'm looking at the military stocks to do well tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 15th, and whatever you think, one of the best up days on the market is usually St. Patty's Day. So if you keep that in mind, if you have longs, I'd hold them to the end of the week. But usually it's a very good trading day.
Yeah. Well, one
It's a
last thing
party
before.
day.
Yeah,
Everybody likes
right,
a party.
exactly. Yeah, all these Irish people getting drunk or pseudo-Irish. Everybody's Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Um, One last thing, and I don't know if you've seen it. Um, One of my friends pointed rat out to me, which is which is in a lot of trouble, to tell you the truth. Um,
Holy Moses. I'm
yeah,
not
and
surprised.
I don't know, is there a news section on here? Um,
I
no, it
think what
says
you're having is that, um, wow, that's interesing. A lot of people don't even understand they did a reverse 20-to-1 split. So that stock really is only trading for like 4 or 5 cents.
right
So,
here. Um, DOJ accuses Rite Aid for ignoring obvious signs of opiate abuse.
geez, yeah,
U.S. government
I
reportedly sued Rite Aid. They don't have any money anyways, so.
yeah, they're losing money, and it reminds me of the Spirit and the JetBlue. Both of them are unprofitable airlines, just trying to make a profit,
Yeah,
and
right.
that they probably lost millions of dollars, and the government's going to probably put them both bankrupt,
Yeah.
and then they're
Well,
going to go ahead and say, "Wow, we for everybody."
yeah. Well, wasn't
I mean, how
Rite
can
Aid was their own problem, right? Or their own making? They were the ones that backed out of the deal.
No. What happened is I actually own like $100,000 of stock of Rite Aid too. Is interesting, but what happened is that they blocked it. They wouldn't allow it to go through
Oh,
the same trade commission that's blocking Spirit, and they said that it was going to be unfair advantage for Walgreens and Rite Aid. So instead of like holding out for a better deal, Rite Aid did a stupid thing and said, "Well, we'll sell you half of our company." Well, what happened is that literally they just sold the stores and got no money. So everybody said, "That's the stupidest deal I ever seen. I'm getting out of Rite Aid." Because Walgreens offered to buy Rite Aid out for roughly $7.50. And so the literally stock was trading at like 450, and that thing dropped down to 4, then 350, then 2. And
yeah.
then it kind of kept there for a while. And then some genius said, let's do a reverse split because it was down to 50 cents. But the 50 cents was actually a lot better off. They were afraid to get delisted. But look where we're at now. That's interesting. That would have been a nice short.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
18%.
you know,
So,
it's kind of interesting is that you hear about Albertsons and well, look at what happened is that you got Rite Aid was actually purchased by that Albertsons, and then
hmm.
they went ahead and they backed out of the deal because they said, well, how much you going to offer us? And they're like, well, we're not going to tell you. We're just going to buy you for shares. You know,
Yeah,
they didn't put a value on it, so they backed out of it. Well, the
hmm,
shareholders backed out of
yeah,
it. Well, thanks for that input on Rite Aid. I'm going to watch that for tomorrow. So good stuff going on. Happy St. Patty's Day to everybody. And then make sure that you go ahead and keep tuned with the app. You would have caught every one of those bank trades. You would have seen them all. So
yeah, definitely. Um, last thing to
all
show
right,
every
Brian.
last thing to show everybody. Here is a list of stocks that
Mm-hmm.
are reporting after the bell. Basically, means that this is somewhat working. Like I just listed all the stocks and it was able to do this. So I'm making progress. So
Very
um,
good.
yeah, I'm
Very
excited.
good. Yeah. Is
Still
there a
excited.
way that you can pre-program them in so the users don't have to do any work? They can just, that you pick and choose the good ones for earnings, and that it's already loaded in there.
Well, I don't know. do kind of working on like a favorite section, um,
Mm-hmm.
where you can have a list of stocks and it will do those stocks for you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but in general, no, there's like just a list of 5,000 so stocks.
I know that's a problem. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. And I was looking at a
Yeah, it's
lot of
too
these.
bad we didn't. We remember we had that criteria in there.
Right.
That
Yeah.
it had to be like a million. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go ahead and work with that again. I think that's a good one. So,
Yeah. Because a lot of
all right,
these,
sounds awesome.
yeah, a lot of these on the list are like $2 stocks, half-dollar stocks. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I forgot we had the criteria. So,
okie
all right,
doke.
sounds good, Ryan.
Okay, thank you everybody. Hopefully you found this interesting. Got to know what the Ides of March is from, and you got to know how the FDIC was created. So yeah, we're quite the teachers here. So have a have a good night, everybody. Have a good week, rest of the week trading, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, everyone.
All right, sounds good.